Welcome back to Fairy Tail Anime Review, episode number 41. This is doing the 309th episode of the anime, Broken Bonds. This one adapts chapters 504 to 506. Yep, it does. This episode is mostly Natsu versus Gray, which does take a good chunk of the episode. As a matter of fact, the episode ends in this particular fight. The episode starts off pretty much where last week's episode left off, where, of course, you have Natsu still looking for Zeref. Also, I've got to mention this. His hands are completely different. They kind of remind me of Dragon Claws. Well, Dragon Slayer. Yeah, his hands are basically like claws now, and they're all red down to like about partway down his arm. And of course, he is doing the whole thing of basically the Fire Fist thing that he's known for doing. He's one of like 3 characters I know who actually is known for doing that. Yeah, so while that fight's going on, almost everybody else, you also have Windy and Juvia looking for Gray, and they're looking for Gray. Of course, Gray and Natsu assume both their respective women that they love, or women that love them, are possibly dead. They're not. They're really not. Yeah, of course you have Natsu discovering apparently Lucy's body. Lucy's fine. And by the way, her eyes never end up like that at all. That was basically all Demora, basically. Yeah, she's in, and I at least got now this apparently I forgot to comment this on last week's episode, but apparently now if you watch the entire episode of last week, Evergreen is in the episode, and she doesn't say a word at all. Here, they apparently decided to keep all of her dialogue in. I have no idea why in the world that the anime decided to cut all of her dialogue from when she appeared for last week's episode. Here, they kept all of her dialogue in, which kind of begs the question, why cut in the first place? As for Demora herself, she's still unconscious. Yep. Lucy, of course, is basically back in her outfit that she had before the start of the actual war. You know, the blue white top with the black shorts and the black boots. Yeah, that's simply put basically her basic attire. And it's been her attire since post time skip. Well, the second time skip, but the series. The series has had roughly 2. Yeah, the first one was 7 years. That was between the Tenor Island arc and before the Grand Magic Game stuff. This was the second one, where this one was a full year, and people did change. I mean, appearance-wise, nobody. I feel like some people wore different clothing. I mean, the characters did get stronger power-wise, but not by much. Nope. Yeah, but let's see. Yeah, we also have Makarov. Basically, he gets a big highlight in this episode. You also have Mavis. You see the actual Mavis up here on the battlefield. And you also have Loxus. Loxus is probably by far the first person to actually touch her, who's not trying to hurt her. All he does is touch her shoulder. I'm surprised he doesn't exactly pick her up and basically carry her along, because she's a very short woman, though she's basically 116. Well, she's 117 years old. Yeah. And let's see. She knows what Makarov wants to do. He gets a particular stance. What stance he's going to do, and what build he's going to do. He's basically going to use Fairy Law on the Alvarez troops. A whole boatload of them. Now, prior to this, Irina had initiated a spell. Of course, she also had used her special cross eyes to look for Mavis, and then Mavis comes in an illusion, this giant illusion, where she tells her, yep, I have a strategy to beat them, because, well, she's a fairy tactician. And in the case of Irene, she's like, maybe I'll step up there. Taps her staff in the ground, and the soldiers turn to frickin' berserkers. Yep, they go to berserk mode. Yeah, they go frickin' nuts. Tear people up. Urza gets pinned by one of them, though she's basically almost face down. And Makarov's like, I've had enough. I'm going to... he's like, he just does this, and uses fairy law. And it's probably the biggest one he's actually done in the whole series. It's only the second time I could think of in the series he's actually initiated. The last time he initiated was back in the Phantom Lord arc. The Phantom Guild arc. That was the last official time he actually used it. That was back in season 1. He very rarely has... Actually, no, this is actually the third time. Because he actually used it against Agalogia. It apparently doesn't work against that freaking dragon. But it worked against these damn soldiers, and they'll basically reduce to almost freaking ash. Well, they could turn to stone. Makarov's clothes apparently are still moving, despite the fact it looks like he's dead. Don't worry, he does come back at the end, from what I've read. Yeah, I'm gonna spoil that. Yep. And of course, everybody's grieving, and of course, you have off in the distance. You also see that the whole light thing is witnessed not only by Irene and the Fairy Tail Guild, and of course, Yoniko, Angel, and some people who are not part of Fairy Tail, but they're at the battlefield. But it's also witnessed by Jacob, Irene, August. Brandish basically sees the light to everybody sees it. And Grandina, well, I call her Grandina even though she has a different name, but basically she's the Eidos version of Grandina. She knows exactly what Makarov did. And she's like, you fool! Why'd you use that? She's like, you fool. Yeah. And also, I almost thought that Irene, when she's like, what is such a bothersome? I almost thought she was going to swear. Yes. Or she was going to call Mavis the B word. Yeah, I kind of thought that anybody who watched this dub, I mean, the way her dialogue went, it kind of looked like she was going to swear. Make her the first person in this series in the dub to actually drop a swear word. That's the interesting thing about this series. Nobody actually does swear, surprisingly. Yeah, I know that Todd Eppercorn has actually dropped some swear words in some other series I've watched. Not a lot of them, per se. The only one I can think of he did it was Berserk plus Vampire. And that's it. It's the only one I can think of he's done it for. But no other series I can think of he's actually done it for. Not even Super. Yeah, not even Super he curses at all. I mean, I'm glad he doesn't curse in this series because that'd be kind of dumb for Natsu to do. Start swearing. The only character I could probably accept doing some swearing, probably, no, Zeref basically I wouldn't accept him doing swearing. Maybe when I was at 12, probably. Jacob I can see do some swearing. Irene, yeah, I could definitely see her basically do some cursing. But Natsu? Nope. Definitely not any of the main characters of the series. I don't think they would ever do it. Aside from Irene and, well, Jacob, the only person I could possibly see do some swearing at basically the Spriggan 12, well, not Brandish. No, she doesn't have that type of mouth on her. I would probably say it's probably the guy whose last name is Dragneel. Possibly him, but I can't see anybody else doing any swearing in this series. And while the fights, and of course, in spite of I can see the light, Natsu and Gray still have their epic brawl. And then all of a sudden, Urza shows up. I just found out Urza was basically a badass this whole episode. Even equipping 5 different, a thunder armor, fire armor, wins 5 different armors. Yeah, something she doesn't really do very often. I mean, she does 1 or 2, but never this much. My gosh. Yeah, she basically used a whole bunch of armors. She even used a couple armors basically we've seen before. The one armor she uses basically prior to the Fairy Law being affected is the armor she actually got at the start of the Avatar when she first seen in the Avatar arc. Yeah, all the rest of the armors we've seen before, like the cloth pants and the strap, the bandage wrapped around her breast. Yeah, that particular one, she has used it before. It's basically a low-key armor that she uses, and she doesn't use it very often. Basically, the power lies in the weapon she uses, and the outfit's basically a bonus. Yep. And let's see. Then somehow she finds Natsu and Gray. I'm like, how the heck did she know where they were? And then she ends with crying, and it stops their fight. Despite the fact when she's touching Natsu's hand, her hand is basically burning, All she gets some burns, and for Grey, touching his hand apparently causes her hand to freeze and start cracking. Now, I have to ask, okay, she is not. Now, they don't really explain. Now, they do explain the whole origin story behind Irene, but as for Urza, in this moment, they don't really explain, like, okay, she shows up completely at random. It's like, oh, there she is, completely random, just stops the fight between Natsu and Grey. Like, what? Yeah. But the only reason why I'll call, like, what? You end this randomly? But it's not complete random because Urza starts crying. Yes, this is a thing. One of several series I've seen where a lot of the characters, a lot of whom pretty much are adults, and they cry. The only other series I can see that actually have done this is One Piece. I think that's it. Yeah, that's the only series of Funimation I've seen where you have characters, well, you can kind of say My Hero Academia basically see characters crying, but not a lot of them. It's not really bothersome per se, but at least it doesn't happen very often. One Piece, I think it happens the most. Yes, but apparently when these people characters cry, apparently these characters also have a runny nose for some reason. I have no idea why. Yeah, but otherwise though, really good episode. Can't wait for next week's episode, which is gonna basically follow up with this and start a fight I have been wanting to see since this arc started. Basically, the fight I'm looking forward to seeing on screen is Urza and Wendy versus Irene. That's going to start next week. I did look up. Yep, it's going to start next episode. Yeah, so that's particularly it for this particular review. I have 2 more videos coming today. One of whom is going to be review of 7 Days Since, which I'm going to read that next, and then I'm going to review it. And the other is going to be Case Closed Season 23. I'm going to review that. Yep, because I only have 4 episodes left, so I figured, oh, why not review it? Yep. That'll be up soon, probably in a couple hours. At least like a couple hours, okay? But see you next review. Bye.